I'm Bonnie McCaffery, and thank you so much for coming back this month for another VidCast. And I have run into Nadine Ruggles, and she has a brand new book out. It's called Inchie Quilts, and this is such a neat technique with little 1-inch squares of fabric and other fun stuff. Nadine, what exactly is this technique?
Well, Inchie quilts are exactly what they sound like. They're 1-inch quilts. It's a 1 by 1 inch square piece of fabric art.
Oh my gosh, they're absolutely beautiful. And that was pretty neat how you peeled that off. Well, they're Velcroed on.
Well, in this particular quilt, yes, they're Velcroed on so that you can rearrange them as often and in any way as that you like.
Oh my gosh, so you make this little 1-inch quilt and then you embellish it with all kinds of things like
anything you want. Beads, crystals, fibers, found objects, pieces of old broken jewelry, anything you like can be an embellishment for an Inchie.
That is absolutely wonderful. Well, we have a pile of quilts to look at, so let's go ahead and flip through some. Here is a little piece, and it looks very musical.
It is. This I made because both of my children are musical. I don't know where they got it. Not from me.
You're not musical?
No.
Just artistic?
This is it. This is my musical ability right here. And this is what I call one fabric Inchies. Inchies made from all one fabric.
Okay.
But you can see how different they all are.
Oh, that is so cool. This is a fun little piece. I really like this one. And tell me about this one.
Well, this is called Inchie House Party, and this quilt was designed especially for quilt swaps where everybody makes the same Inchie and then they swap so that everybody has a set of 12 different Inchies. These Inchies, again, are attached with Velcro so that you can swap them out, and perhaps you could even make a seasonal set.
Right.
You could make a Christmas set and take all the black and white ones off, put Christmas ones on.
That's
and you
such a neat idea.
You could actually put Velcro on the back and store your extras on the back of the quilt.
Wow, that is brilliant. Wow. Now here is a very monochromatic piece.
These are color wash Inchies.
Yeah.
And I call them that because the color washes from dark to light. It could also wash from color to color. You could start with purple and go to green if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And so these Inchies were made from 6 different fabrics.
Right. Oh, this is a beautiful piece.
This is a really easy quilt to make. I started with the batik in the background.
Right. And
just picked out colors that went with the batik.
Right, so it's
for the
kind
color
of
wash Inchies.
An olive green and into the brown, and lots of fun.
It's so much fun to pick out embellishments for the color wash Inchies, especially because they change.
Oh,
These are a darker green, but then it fades into bronze.
Right, right. So, now here's a beautiful color wash piece.
Yeah, this is Flying Inchies. And again, these are color wash Inchies. I made this from a jelly roll, a batik jelly roll, a mini jelly roll.
Right.
And these Inchies, there are 4 of each color and there are 4 geese of each color. So you can actually match them to the geese because, again, they're all on with Velcro.
Oh, that's so neat.
You can match them or you can mix them up.
All right.
This is Shadow Box Inchies. This is actually Shadow Box Inchies 1. And this is using 2 fabrics. There's a little leafy fabric and then there's the stripe fabric.
Now, what is this little embellishment piece here?
That is a brad from the scrapbooking department.
Oh my gosh. Here's another little piece. Now these look like they're all the same fabric that you started with.
These are all one fabric Inchies.
No.
The fun part about this quilt is that when I was making the background quilt, I couldn't decide whether to use the coral or the tangerine.
Oh my gosh. And so whatever you're feeling that day, you can just flip it around.
You can flip the Inchies to the back side.
Oh, that is so neat. That is great. Now here is the one that they put on the front of your book. This is beautiful.
This is another version of Shadow Box Inchies.
Right. Okay, so I see the shadow box there again.
And you can see there's one oddball Inchie there.
And I think that adds interest and excitement.
But it was very easy because all you have to do is take it off. The original Inchie is stored on the back of the quilt.
Oh my gosh.
So there it is without.
Okay.
The fuchsia.
And I think the fuchsia really adds a nice sparkle.
Oh, I think it does.
Now, what I see in the pile next, and this is really interesting, is the quilt, that same quilt, without all the embellishments. And oh my gosh, it is so much more exciting once you embellish those little inch pieces.
Yes, but when you look at this quilt, this will show you how much easier it can be to piece a quilt with inchies, because this quilt without the inchies was much harder to piece.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot more fussy little tiny pieces in there.
Right.
Whereas this, the inchies are the patchwork.
Oh, so really this is 1, 2, 3 pieces of fabric for each block?
It's not even that, because this was strip pieced. It's a strip here, and this is one solid strip.
Oh my gosh.
So this quilt is so easy to piece. And the inchies, while they are the patchwork, they're so much more than just patchwork.
Yeah. And I think that's something really neat that you've done in your book, is that you have made the inchies the patchwork. And here's a fun little chessboard, which I think is really neat.
This is a quilt I made for my husband because he's an avid chess player. And the patterns for this machine embroidery are downloadable as a bonus for the book.
And I'm assuming that when you're embroidering these, you're working on a larger piece of fabric to start, and then it gets cut down. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I love this little one. This is a pretty little piece.
I have to say this is one of my favorites too.
How come there's a bite out of this piece?
Well, these are Inchie pettifours.
Oh, and they are, aren't they?
Because this fabric looked like pettifours to me. So that is how I decided what to make out of it. This is a box of pettifours.
Yes, it is.
And one of them has been sampled.
So these inchies are delicious as well.
Well, yes.
Yeah. This is a really pretty piece. And it's neat because it looks like you've made this from one fabric and put it on there the same way it was in the fabric.
Exactly.
Just kind of cut it apart and moved it out a little bit.
Exactly. It was
that's beautiful.
One piece of fabric, a little bit smaller than this because there's some extra space in there.
Right.
And you make the inchies, you cut them apart, and you keep them in order. I actually numbered them on the back so that they would stay in order.
Good idea.
Make it easy. And then just mounted them in the exact same order that they were originally in on the original fabric.
Pretty neat. Now, I love the idea that you take a traditional patchwork design and then seeing the squares everywhere. You made the inchies the square in the pattern.
Now, this is a traditional bow tie or lover's knot block, and the inchies are actually the knot.
I know, that is so cool. And I'll bet that made it really easy to make this, because this is just like a 4-patch.
There are no set-in pieces here.
No.
And so these are just 2-inch squares that were sewn together in rows.
Wow. I would bet that this gets pretty addictive.
Yes, it does. And even after I've made, I don't know, over 1,000 inchies.
Oh my gosh.
I still absolutely love to make them, and I love to watch them as I create them, because every single one is different.
How quickly do they make up?
Well, you're making more than one at a time.
Right.
And so you make about 12 minimum, I would say, and it takes maybe an hour to actually get to the point where it is an inchie. The edge stitching is done. And then each one, to embellish, it can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how creative and how much you want to add to it.
Right, right. And so here again, you've done a traditional pattern.
Right. This is actually a variation of the Burgoyne surrounded block, and this is a small version of the larger quilt that I made for the Burgoyne surrounded contest for the National Quilt Museum last year. And again, these are color wash inchies, and within each color family there's about 5 colors.
Oh.
Okay, so there's about 5 different orange fabrics here.
Wow, so very subtle change in color. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. Now this one represents a lot of different things that are all in the book.
Right. This is a sampler quilt from the book that gives you a very basic idea of a lot of the different things you can do with inchies and how you can attach them. There are 1 fabric inchies here.
Okay.
And there are color wash inchies here.
Okay.
These inchies are applied with Velcro. These are applied with glue.
Okay. They
sit flatter on the quilt when you apply them with glue.
Right, because there's not the Velcro raising it up.
And these inchies are attached with beads.
Oh, I love that.
For a little, it's hanging loose from the quilt.
A little dangle. I think you need her book. I love this dangle thing, and the fringe on this is just great. They just. Whoop.
These are very fun.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun making this quilt. And this is one of those fabrics. I love to buy these panel fabrics, and then I buy them and I think, okay, what am I going to do with this now?
Have any of you done that? I'm sure.
I'm sure we all have. And so when I designed this quilt, I just cut out a few of these postcard size panels, printed panels from the Laurel Birch fabric, and offset them just a bit so there was room for these inchies.
Perfect.
And again, these are hanging free from the quilt.
Yeah. And you're really just launching your teaching career. So you've taught in Germany and you're starting to teach here. You're going to go to the AQS show from here.
Right.
So that's great.
In Des Moines, right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this, and we'll all be making little Inchie quilts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining me, and I hope you'll come back next month and see what I have for you then. Thanks for being with me.